Unarmed black man kills 6 and counting. Hi, my name is Ali Schwag, and this is 10 Points to Ponder, where we like to talk about all the things that get you canceled: race, politics, Jesus, and manhood. How did that headline feel? To hear race interjected in what is actually a human story, maybe a story about the criminal justice system, and definitely a story about domestic violence and the lengths to which someone will go to harm others. Instead, we have to see race interjected in every story when it concerns white people, but we misstate and don't want to state the obvious when we have a black man who was in a domestic violence dispute, who prior to that was bailed out of jail after trying to run over his ex-girlfriend, and now goes to a Christmas parade and mows over all the people there. He apparently injured, I think, upwards of 65 people, and 6 of them are dead, and more are in critical condition, so we're still waiting to see what the final death toll is out of this. Why does the media always choose to interject race when it comes to these stories, when it concerns a white person, right? Because we just had Kyle Rittenhouse, who was released and found not guilty, and they mentioned over and over again, he's a white shooter, he's a white guy who crossed state lines. But they don't mention that the 3 people that he shot were also white, and they try to make it some sort of referendum or some sort of proof as to, there's white supremacy, and we're not surprised that he got off on a self-defense charge because he's white, and apparently if he was black, he wouldn't. And yet, ignoring the fact that there have been 2 documented cases of black people who were criminals, who had the police coming to raid their homes and started shooting, and unfortunately, the guys escaped scot-free, but the girls, just like Breonna Taylor, did not escape scot-free. And then when there was a trial with those guys, those 2 black men, they were found not guilty by reason of self-defense. So why this lie? I'll tell you why this lie. It's because they want to stoke a race war, and they want to dismantle American values. They want to dismantle the country itself and prove that it's irredeemably racist. That's why they always want to say that white people, white supremacy is the primary problem with this country, and it's the foundation of this country since 1619. Therefore, we should completely abandon and demolish it in favor of something that they would deem more successful, more equitable, maybe a system like China, who is right now putting minorities in concentration camps. Let's take a step back. This is going to be a little bit longer video, so I want to just recap and talk about the history and talk about how we got to a black man mowing over all these people, and news headlines mention that he mowed over all the people, but don't mention the fact that it was a black man, when if it was a white person mowing over a bunch of black people celebrating, then for sure that would have been the height of white supremacy. He would have been a Klan member, right? He would have been someone who's going and doing evil, and further proves the evil and the atrocities that white people have done against black people throughout this country. So let's start with the narrative. The narrative that began and seems to stick with all of this is the idea of cops killing unarmed black men. Guess what? The guy with a car mowing over people, wounding 65 and killing 6, was unarmed. So unarmed doesn't mean that someone's not dangerous. It only takes a fool and an idiot who has no understanding of law enforcement, no understanding of arrest and control, no understanding of what an actual threat is, to simply state that because someone doesn't have a gun, right? A knife is okay, obviously, because Jacob Blake was shot wrongly, right? He had a knife, so a knife also apparently makes you unarmed and makes you a victim of police brutality and white supremacy. Anyway, moving forward, so that narrative was proliferated, that cops are killing unarmed black men all over the place. And so that culminated in the killing of George Floyd, which then proved the thesis and thus made mob rule and mob justice the way of life here in America, right? It justified violence, looting, and burning. People went throughout the cities in the country, especially the big cities like San Francisco and Chicago, the big Democrat-run cities, Denver, for that matter, went throughout these cities and they were able to do whatever because these state legislators, these city councils, the mayors all told the police, stand back. You don't want to stop peaceful protests. Who cares if they're burning? Who cares if they're destroying the livelihoods of the people who worked hard to erect these things? It's so much easier to destroy something than build something. And we don't understand that what was built by others is their lifeblood, their sweat and tears went into obtaining the money for the property, went into actually creating and building the property. It took years, months, it took decades in some cases. And one night, you can come and just set a fire because the police allow you to and destroy someone's life work? How's that right? How's that just in America? And these people were justified. They were allowed by the police to do whatever it is that they wanted. And police just stood by and stood back. And so then we moved to Jacob Blake, who was shot 7 times by the police because he was involved in a domestic dispute and had a knife on him. And before people could even understand the facts, that video went around, and then people started flocking to Kenosha, Wisconsin. People who were crossing state lines. The same thing they accused Kyle Rittenhouse of doing. They were crossing state lines to bring mayhem, to destroy, to dismantle, to hurt other people, to kill other people. And some people actually stood up for themselves. Some people tried to protect their property, and what did they get? What did they get in result? They got a bottle smashed over their head, right? And so these are the circumstances in which Kyle Rittenhouse, after 3 days of seeing this and seeing that there was absolutely no police presence, that law and order had abandoned, decided that he was going to take and have a gun, right? He didn't take it across state lines as the erroneous news stories indicated. He was going to go to Kenosha, he was going to get a gun, and he was going to go out there and render aid and protect property. And as the looters and rioters came out, which, by the way, let's not even talk about these looters and rioters, sex offenders, degenerates, people who, of course, want to dismantle the system and want to drive us into anarchy, because then it allows them to do more of their evil, right? It allows them to rape more people, to commit more domestic violence, to molest more children, as in the case of the person shot by Rittenhouse. So they want this anarchy, and Kyle Rittenhouse stood between them and anarchy, and so they attacked, and he had no choice but to defend himself. And yet the media wants to say that Kyle Rittenhouse went looking for trouble and was trying to fight against black people and trying to fight against racial justice protests. These were not racial justice protests. The black people and the black cause, whatever attempt at trying to gain justice for people because of some perceived slight in America, that America is systemically racist, right? Whatever perceived slight that people may have been trying to fight for was completely usurped by anarchists and those who are in the dregs of society, who could never get you to agree to anything, but they want to jump on the backs of any sort of justice movement, any sort of popular movement, because they know that that insulates them from any criticism. They have weaponized white guilt, the terror of being labeled a racist. They've weaponized that and go out into the cities, burning and looting, and then pulling back and letting the black people be their human shields. And we've still got people who are fighting for the Joseph Rosenbaum, right? Fight for a sex offender. Fight for a child molester. Are you kidding me? You're joining in league with these type of people and against a Kyle Rittenhouse who is just trying to protect what has been built, the infrastructure that's been built that allows all of us to flourish. And so agitators crossed state lines, police withdrew and permitted it to happen. Kyle Rittenhouse stepped up, and then the media stepped up and lied about this person, Kyle Rittenhouse. They lied about his motive. They even lied about the law. He has a right in America to defend himself. They're trying to take away this right for self-defense because they want to be able to get mad, right? So vigilante justice is wrong when it comes to Kyle Rittenhouse defending himself from the people who are also using vigilante justice because they believe that the system is so irretrievably broken that the only way that they can strike a blow against the system is to come to your house and break your stuff and burn your place of living, to the point that people were writing on their houses, on their garages, please do not burn. There are children here. There are elderly people here. Don't burn this place. And this is the midst of the situation that Kyle found himself in. And then Kyle went to trial after being dragged through the mud, after being tried and convicted by the same woke, disgusting media that's just pawns for China, because they have the same goals as China, which is to destroy and dismantle this country, right? To install groupthink, to repeat the same lies over and over and over again, kind of like in 1984, until you believe that 2 + 2 is 5. That's the goal. And so, after being acquitted, the talking point was by the media, right? We're not surprised. We are hurt, we're disappointed, but this feigned disappointment. Oh, we're so disappointed. We're so disappointed that he didn't go to jail for protecting himself against our foot soldiers. We're so disappointed that he didn't go to jail for killing a convicted sex offender who was trying to kill him. Are you kidding me? This is the environment that we're living in right now. And so, like I said, the anarchists chose mob justice to protest Jacob Blake's shooting, and they want us to cower when defending ourselves against their mob justice. And they twist language to say that the self-defense itself is mob justice. Think about, wasn't it in St. Louis where that couple went out with their guns because the protesters were coming in their neighborhood, trespassing, right? They had their guns. And they were vilified because you're just supposed to sit there and let them have their way. Let them burn your life's work. I don't think so. Not in America. The right to bear arms. The right to bear arms. The right to bear arms is our only buffer against anarchist tyranny. It's our only buffer against these people who would say, well, I guess we can't get you to agree with us that things are fundamentally flawed in this country. Therefore, we're going to go and destroy your country against your will. They're fascists. They're tyrannical. They're despots. And that's why we have the right to bear arms. Because there are people who want to take it upon themselves. People just like this guy in, I think it was Waukesha, Wisconsin, right? He goes and he's had his mind twisted over and over again by media reports, at least based upon some of his activities on social media. He had his mind twisted over and over again by media reports, saying how much of a victim he is. Although he was victimizing others, he was victimizing some of the women that he had children with. He tried to run one of them over, but he kept listening to these news reports that tell him how much of a victim he is. And perhaps, because we don't know yet, we don't know fully the motive, and if the motive is this, then I rest assured that the media will try to somehow sanitize it. But if the motive ends up being that he was radicalized by hatred towards white people and chose an event in which he thought that there would be a lot of white people there, so that he crashed his truck into the bodies and over the bodies of people as they screamed, it might very well be that he felt he was striking a blow. Just like those who came across state lines to protest and burn Kenosha. Perhaps he thought that he was striking that same blow against the white man, against white supremacy. And we talk in these nebulous terms about something that's in the air. And we think that this talk won't have real world consequences when you don't define the enemy except just to say he's white. then you don't think that someone who's twisted in their minds after a domestic dispute might get the clue that basically white people are you can victimize them without any sort of recourse because the media is going to back you up. Even white people in the media. And anyone that doesn't support a liberal viewpoint is almost depersoned, unpersoned. Whether you're white or black, you're unpersoned. And the media has made this very clear. Therefore, to him, maybe it wasn't that big a deal. He was just striking a blow against white supremacy. We'll see what happens with this case. We'll see how the media covers it. And we'll see if we ever see a headline that says, unarmed black man kills 6 and counting. Those are my thoughts. What do you think? Please like, comment, subscribe, and share this video. There is an evil and satanic plan that is being brought forth through the media, through the collusion of the media, racist white leftists who believe that black people are beneath them, but use them as pawns and human shields to achieve their ends when it comes to gay rights, when it comes to transgender, when it comes even to environmental fascism. They want to use black people because it insulates them from having to face any sort of debate, because then they can call the other person a racist. And so, share your thoughts on this video. My name's Ollie Schwaga. This has been 10 Points to Ponder.